All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a quick, hopefully quick video on how to set up your choice calligraphy assignment, the last calligraphy assignment that I'm going to have for you for this semester. You're going to need your writer pen, and here's an example of one that's all set up. This is from Isaiah 9:6. You can see that there's a nice border around the outside edge. There's a little bit of room at the bottom. And I used some pastels on this one. I showed you this with one of the earlier videos, the pastel set. I just took some of the tan here and some of the brown, the kind of red brown, and then a little bit of brown, and I rubbed it on there and then wiped it with a Kleenex, and it makes a really nice surface. So it kind of looks like it's parchment. So this is an example of one. All right, when you go to set this up, I'm just going to go backtrack just for a second. All right, in Zoom, I also showed you some of the Christmas cards that we have made as a family. And this is just a really small version of a choice calligraphy, where here you can see a manger and a Star of David. And then inside, we have printed in calligraphy, Star of David, City of David, Son of David, and then Merry Christmas from the Bolzmans. So you can see how this works. O Come All Ye Faithful was another year. This was done in calligraphy, and we used silk screening for this. And then on the inside, soon, soon to faithful warriors cometh rest. And we put a guy in armor there, and then baby Jesus in the manger. These are some Christmas themes. I also showed you for the last one, this as Glad Tidings, which was written in calligraphy. This was also a silk screen. We put some angels underneath it. And then on the inside, your Savior is born, Christ the Lord. Some simple Christmas card ideas. And then I showed you how you can take a piece of paper, just a regular piece of copy paper, and you can fold it in half and then in half. And you can have right, Merry Christmas, and I did a little pastel work just so that you could get some ideas. From that step, now is the choice calligraphy. And when you're doing the choice calligraphy, let me show you another example. This was done by one of my 7th graders way back in at St. Paul in Millington. And you can see here is trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. I had those guys do, I was teaching in a Lutheran school, and I had the kids do a lot of Bible verses, and they could do some other things too. This was her choice calligraphy. Nicely done with some artwork coming through it. And it could use a little bit more room on the edges with a border, but you know, for a 7th grade student, this is awesome. So this is an example of a choice calligraphy that you could do. Now, to set this up, when you go to set it up, you're going to need a white sheet of paper. Now, you can decide, folks, whether you want to do this vertically, and I have some sheets like this in the handouts for you in Google Classroom. You can do it vertically, and you can set this up on top, and you can see the lines coming through there. If you're going to do that, I would use a ruler and make probably at least a 1/2 inch border all the way around it, maybe a little bit more at the top and the bottom. You can decide that. And I showed you that in an earlier video too, when you did the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so you could put a border around it. And if you're going to put a border around it, I would just do it in pencil at first, because this is going to be a rough draft. The other possibility that you could do is in your Google Classroom packet, I have some lines that go horizontally that you could set this up this way if you wanted to. Now, usually for the choice calligraphy, I give the students a sheet of paper twice this size, but I can't do that since we're virtually being taught right now. So I'm just going to have you work at 8.5 by 11. That will work well. And you can see these lines underneath there, and you could set it up vertically if you want. Now, once you set this up, with this one, I'm going to go vertically just to give you an example. All right, so this is going to be my rough draft. And if I'm doing a rough draft, everything's going to be rough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the outside edge and kind of rough in about a ½ inch. About right here's a ½ inch. I'm going to rough in about a ½ inch, or you could take your ruler and go like this and just kind of rough in a ½ inch border. You might want to leave a little bit more at the bottom. This is not going to be your final one. This is your rough draft. I'm going to erase this back out of here a little bit. All right, then what you can do is you can decide what you want to say here. Like, what do you want to write about? I have some examples. If you can look right here, this is a handout that I use with my students all the time. These are some former students and what they've done. This one did a John Denver idea, Almost Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River, because this young man's mother loved this song. So he says, I'm going to do this for her for a Christmas present. So he wrote this out in calligraphy, and then he did these mountains in pastel. You can't see it here because it's just a black and white rendition of it, but that was really cool. This is the Luke 2, 10 to 12, and I have my kids do Luke 2 when they're doing their calligraphy assignments at home. And all my kids have done this to some extent or another. And it says, and the angel said to them, do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy, which will come to all people. This is what Linus said to in the Charlie Brown special. These are the words from Luke 2. Now, when you look at this, let's make that just a tiny bit bigger. When you look at this, this is a larger sheet of paper. And you can see that this young man did calligraphy here, calligraphy here, calligraphy here, and artwork here, and artwork there. And if you have a large sheet of paper, that's possible. In a smaller sheet of paper, you probably won't be able to get away with 3 pieces of artwork, but you might be able to get away with 1. So let's just say you wanted to do something of a Christmas hymn, or maybe you wanted to do something, just trying to get some ideas since it is Christmas time. This is a placemat from Bronner's that I picked up, Bronner's in Frankenmuth. And there are all kinds of ideas on here for some calligraphy pieces. We got Joy to the World, A White Christmas, Silver Bells. These are just some Christmas songs and Christmas hymns. Away in a Manger, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, O Holy Night. So you could do something like this. You could do a hymn that you like. You could do a song that you like. You could do a poem. I would think about trying to do something that somebody would like as a Christmas gift that you could give to them. All right, that would be kind of fun. If I would just look over here, like Joy to the World, the Lord has come, let earth receive her King, which you hear all over the place right now. You might say, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to write this out. I have lines underneath there. I'm not going to worry too much about how this is going to work out. So I just might want to just start Joy to the world, kind of using these lines. The Lord is come. Now you don't have to do the whole song either. You can just do part of it. And you're just going to rough it out. Let earth receive her King. And it's capital. All right. Now, you might want to do some artwork right here. Say, well, okay, I want Joy to the World, Lord has come, let earth receive her King. Maybe I want to do some artwork like right in this area. And I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. I could do something there. I could do a star. I could do some Christmas ornaments. I could do a candle. You know, there are a lot of different things that you could do. And then you could keep going. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing. Maybe you want to just stop with that. You don't have to repeat it over and over. So you just want to, at first, kind of rough it out. Get an idea where you want everything to go and just write it out in pencil, using the lines kind of as a guide, just to see how it fits. This I call actually a rough draft, all right? So if we look at this, this would be a rough draft. It's not very pleasant, it's not very wonderful, it's just some ideas, all right? Just a rough draft. And then you could go ahead and then take another sheet of paper and write it out in pencil a lot better how you like it to be. And then you can adjust. Okay, maybe I want this line over here, maybe I want this line over here. I don't want the ascenders and descenders running into each other. And you could figure out where you want that to go. And then after you do it, maybe sometimes I have students do it 2 times in pencil just to lay it all out, just to figure out what they want it to go. And then they'll go ahead and do the ink. And then they'll go over top of these lines. Once you get it just how you want it, then write it all out in pencil just how you want it to go. And then go over top of it with the ink. All right. And then when you go over it with the ink, then it's pretty much in place. And then you can go ahead and do some of the details later. I just want to show you a couple examples. This is an example that I showed you the other day with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I put some color into it with some pastel. Here's one that a student did, and it's just lettering, jingle bells. You can see that it's just the lettering, and I kind of put a border on the side of it. That could be taken out. You could do some pastels on here. Sometimes you can do an image on top of the letters, if you do it lightly, that you can kind of still see the letters coming through it. Here are a couple more examples. Now this one is old and faded a little bit. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given. This is from Isaiah. Also, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And then down here, there's a manger scene. This was done by a 7th grader. Here's another one. Let love and faithfulness never leave you. You can see how they set it up here, and then they put some artwork here, and then signed it. These are a couple larger ones, so I'm going to have to kind of move through it. From the halls of Montezuma, and as you work all the way down here, this was done by a student a year or 2 ago. Well, 2020 Marine Recruit, so it was just done last year. And you can see how they set it up. This is a much larger piece. Here again is a much larger piece. Now, sometimes students like to go and do some really fancy stuff with the lettering at first. And this was all laid out in pencil with a rough draft. And then later on, it was put together on the white paper and done in the ink. And then this is done with a marker around the outside edge. You can see, I'm sorry about that glare. You can see what they did. There are certain places where they went, and I didn't teach them how to do this. I didn't teach these students. They just kind of looked it up and found it. This one right here was done back in my days in Detroit. This was done probably, this was done over 30 years ago, and it still looks great. Look at that. And then they put Luke 2:10-12 at the bottom. And there are all kinds of little things along here that make that look gorgeous. All right, here's some of the artwork, just beautiful. And then the last one to show you today, there were a couple years where I had the students do "We the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union." Here's where you can see that this flag was put behind. Now, when this young man set this up, he set it all up, first of all, in pencil, very, very lightly. And then he figured out where he wanted everything to go. He had a big space up here that he said, I want to put a flag up there. Don't quite know how I want to do it yet. But then he kind of drew it out real rough in pencil first, figured out where he wanted all the lines to go, where he wanted all of the ascenders and descenders to go, how he wanted it to land way down here at the bottom so that there's not too much. You want to plan the whole thing. You want to figure out where all the parts of your lettering are going to go, where all the parts of your artwork are going to go. Sometimes it takes a couple times to do that. And then over top of this, he drew this flag real lightly in pencil and then colored pencil. Notice that the flag doesn't conflict with the lettering. It works with the lettering, and it works really nicely. This is a much larger one. And if you were in class this week, I would have you do a larger one. But since you're not, we're going to have to go a little smaller. So this should get you started. Again, start with a rough draft. Figure out what you want to say. It should be now wording, like how many words? This is always the thing. I would say on this assignment, 20 to 30 words. 20 to 30 words would be good. Sometimes people want to do a lot more than that, and they'll take two pieces of paper and put them together. Sometimes like, tape them together like this so that they have some more room. If you have larger paper, if you have sketchbook paper that's a little bit bigger, you're definitely welcome to use that also. 20 to 30 words. If you're going to go larger, you could use more, but realize that the more words you do, the more difficult it gets. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. This is the calligraphy choice, just starting to get going with the rough draft, and I hope this is helpful, and I hope that you find a good project to do and that you enjoy working on this. Thank you so much.